Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Max McGarvey and I'm elected by my fellow directors to chair today's meeting. It's now 10 a.m, the nominated time for the commencement of this annual general meeting. If you've not already done so, would you please register your attendance with Computershare located at the entrance, and importantly make sure you have a green attendance card if you intend to vote today. I would also ask you to turn off or put in silent mode all mobile phones and other electronic devices. I've been informed that we have a quorum present and I declare the meeting open. Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to take this opportunity to introduce our Company Secretary, Mr. Dixon, who I'm sure many of you already know. Mr. Tim Harrison, our MD, who has just arrived back in Australia from Europe, as Brett mentioned, is joining by video conference, as is Mr. Sufyan Ahmad. Mr. Nitin Natagi, our US-based director, can't be here today and sends his apologies. We're also webcasting today's meeting, so if you have signed in, I welcome you. Tim will be providing a presentation after today's meeting, so I'll leave comments on our projects to him. Now to the business of today's meeting. I'll first deal with some procedural matters and then the business set out in the notice of meeting. Proxies representing approximately 246 million. All resolutions being considered today will be decided by poll. To enable the meeting to proceed smoothly, the poll for all resolutions will be conducted at the same time, and this will be at the end of the meeting after all resolutions have been put and discussed. The poll will be supervised by Mr. Rod Soames from Computershare, who will provide instructions on how to complete your voting papers at the time of voting. Computershare will collate the voting papers and provide the company with the results. The results will be announced to the ASX as soon as they're available. Now to the formalities. Notice of meeting, together with explanatory memorandum, was dispatched to all shareholders. Unless I hear a voice to the contrary, I propose that it be taken as read. Thank you. Minutes of the last annual general meeting held on 11th of November 2022 have been signed and are available for scrutiny during the meeting. Proxies representing approximately 246 million shares have been received, and the register of proxies is available for inspection during the meeting. Displayed on the screen to my right are the results of the proxies received. You will note that the proxies favour all the resolutions being put today, and for that I thank shareholders for their support. As a matter of record, I advise that I intend to vote open proxies I've received in favour of the resolutions being considered today. In addition, as I address each resolution, the resolution being put will be displayed on the screen to my right, along with information on valid proxy votes for that resolution. On to the matters contained in the notice of meeting. While not an item that requires a resolution, we're happy to discuss any matter concerning the annual report of directors, financial statements and the auditor's report for the year ending 30th of June 2023. At this stage, I'd like to introduce our auditor, Mr. Jared Prue. Jared, from BDO. He has kindly made himself available to answer any questions you may have on his audit report. Are there any matters arising or questions concerning the statements or reports? Okay, thank you. No discussion. We'll move to the first resolution to be put today. On the screen is the resolution to be considered, so I won't read it at this stage. I now move that resolution. Open for discussion. If any shareholder or proxy holder wishes to speak or ask any questions, please feel free to do so. Thank you. Our next and final resolution of the day. Oh, sorry, gee, I'm jumping pages here, aren't I? Yep, got that one that time, Brad. Our next resolution deals with the election of Sufyan Ahmad. On the screen, you can see the resolution which I now move. If any shareholder or proxy holder wishes to speak or ask any questions, please feel free to do so. Thank you. No further discussion. I now put the motion, and as noted earlier, this resolution will be decided by a poll which will be conducted after all resolutions have been put. Our next and final resolution of the day deals with the election of Mr. Nitin Tyagi. Again, on the screen, you will see the resolution which I now move. If any shareholder or proxy holder wishes to speak or ask any questions, please feel free to do so. There's no further discussion. I now put the motion, and as noted earlier, this resolution will be decided by a poll. Ladies and gentlemen, there have been no further resolutions to consider today. It is time to conduct the poll, and I hand you over to Mr. Soames.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We'll conduct the poll on motions 1, 2 and 3 this morning. The persons entitled to vote on the poll are shareholders, representatives and attorneys of shareholders and proxy holders, all holding a green admission card. On the reverse of your green admission card is your voting papers and summary. If you have lodged a proxy and you're happy to let that stand, there is no need for a green voting card. Proxy holders, shareholders just need to mark a box beside the motion to indicate how you wish to cast your vote. Please ensure you print your name where indicated and sign the voting card and complete it and return it to Computershare in the ballot box. If there's any questions, please let me know.
And we have pens if anybody needs them, so if you just let us know.
Any questions on the poll? Voting cards? Thank you. I'll hand back to you, Mr. Chairman.
Ladies and gentlemen, the voting is closed, and I thank you for your attendance today. As I indicated earlier, the results of the poll will be released to the ASX as soon as they're available. I declare the meeting closed at 10:10. Please help yourself to a cup of tea or coffee while we set up for Tim's presentation. Thank you.
She would see that the mining licence was issued, but there seems to be still a bit of a delay. Do we know what the delay is?
Not sure of the detail, Brett, unless Tim can, because Tim's just back from Uganda actually, and may be able to give us a better update on that.
Yeah, pardon me, we'll just check. Tim, can you hear that? Did you hear that question?
Yeah, I heard the tail end. If they could please repeat that, and I'll give the best answer.
I'll repeat it for the gentleman. Is the minister, when she was here a couple of months ago, said she was going to move pretty quickly to award the mining licence. What's the delay?
Yes. Okay. So the minister obviously made the statements in September. Went back to Uganda, consulted with the DGSM. DGSM, following the new regulations and the Mining Act, stated that they wanted a couple of other milestones completed in country, which was a little different to what we had previously been told. We had a subsequent meeting with them in October, about 5 weeks ago, where the goalposts had been moved a little bit. We'd been asked to complete all of the land access agreements for the full 44 square kilometre tenement, over which the mining licence application had been applied. And we were only given approval to start that process on the 15th of September. We've now completed in excess of about 95%. We've just had a delegation from the DGSM on site doing the on-site verification of the land access agreement and consultation with the project affected persons and stakeholders. And we've received positive feedback on that process. We don't believe that there is anything else now holding up the award of the mining licence. So we expect that we should be able to now move on with the support of the Minister. The Minister's obviously been pushing the DGSM to finalise all of their components. You may recall that the DGSM has already approved for granting the mining licence, which I suppose supports the process under which we've been working through. We don't expect now there being anything else that's holding up the award of the mining licence.
Thank you.
Well, Tim, you might move on to your presentation then.
Okay. All right, ladies and gentlemen, thanks for attending and apologies for not being able to be present today. Just our cautionary statement. As you all probably are very aware, the strategy of the company is to develop mining, refining and recycling of those critical raw materials, the magnet and heavy rare earths, in order to work with Western governments to build the supply chain to support the energy transition, applications in advanced manufacturing and defence. Just a quick recap on our corporate snapshot. This has been updated to reflect obviously the recent raise, and you can see on the right there the trend of our price, our share price, overlain with the neodymium price. And so, what's clear to me is that obviously, the share price of the company is following very closely with the sentiment in the rare earth space, typified by the neodymium price. Where we are as a business, we've done a lot of de-risking over the course of the last few years to position the company now for what we hope is going to be a significant re-rate as we now move through the development of both the Makuutu project and also Ionic Technologies. Just a bit of chemistry. I know everyone's probably got a good idea about rare earths, but I just wanted to sort of focus a little bit here on the four elements that really are driving the bulk of the demand in the rare earth space. So those four elements at the bottom of the periodic table there, highlighted in red. The wider rare earth elements are highlighted blue. Those red elements are the magnet rare earths. And whilst there is a significant amount of focus on NdPr, the two light rare earths, what we're seeing is a heightened focus now on supply, security, and new production coming online of dysprosium and terbium. Dysprosium and terbium, being heavy rare earths, approximately 98% of the current global supply emanates from the ionic adsorption clays of southern China and Myanmar. And that's why the focus now has really pivoted over the last couple of years towards ionic adsorption clays. And we've seen tremendous appetite from the market as investors are starting to really understand the demand requirements in the rare earth space. If we look at, I suppose, the state of play in China, and obviously China is the bulk producer of both mined rare earths, but where all of the processing capacity exists today. China's been increasing their light rare earth hard rock production capacity significantly over the last 6 years. This year alone, there's been a 33% increase in their light rare earth production capacity and quotas. However, over the last 11 years, the ionic adsorption clay production quotas, which are producing the heavy rare earths, have been stagnant. Obviously, driven by the quotas that were implemented to help China minimise the rate at which they were depleting a very strategic resource. And now, as it stands, China is actually mining more material out of Myanmar and bringing that material into their Chinese supply chain. And I think that goes to some way to explain the appetite and the focus now growing globally on access to heavy rare earths. That is material that's coming from ionic adsorption clays. And so we're seeing a boom in access and development of these assets because of the balanced basket of both magnet and heavy rare earths which they produce. I want to just, I suppose, touch upon the European Critical Raw Material Act. Obviously we had an announcement that went out last week, which I think is tremendously, important for ionic rare earths. We do see the market in Europe being a very exciting opportunity for Makuutu and Ionic Technologies. There is capacity that's being developed there, an orchestrated plan where we do see an opportunity for the development of Makuutu to feed into that opportunity. But also increasingly, the focus now turning to a significant portion coming from recycling. Given the location of the project, in Africa, we do have very strong engagement with the EU. The EU has identified Uganda as one of 6 countries in sub-Saharan Africa where it is looking to prioritise spend. And on the recycling front, our presence in Northern Ireland under the Windsor Framework, which is a post-Brexit policy, opens up the avenues for direct investment and participation in both the UK market and also the European market out of Northern Ireland. So I think we're perfectly placed to take advantage of that heightened appetite for recycling. The supply chain itself, this is a slide that we've had there for some time. It really talks about and talks to the fact that as you move further down the supply chain, the control and the influence that China has on processing all the way through to the production of the value-added components and even recycling is stark. Our focus within Ionic Rare Earths in producing both magnet and heavy rare earths and working on that ex-China strategy is looking to open up the relationships with metal making, alloy making and magnet making capacity that exists today outside of China and new investment that's being committed to now, where we do see a home for both the recycled materials, the secondary source products that we'll produce, plus all the primary production which will come from Makuutu. Looking at this in a bit of a different fashion, if we look at the left there, the blocks that are highlighted orange reflect the primary supply that's going to come from the Makuutu project. We currently own 60%. We are in discussions and have been in discussions with our partners there about increasing our stake. Continues to be a focus of the business, and we do see that as being a mechanism to de-risk the development of the project and being able to commit our product from Makuutu into a new supply chain. Obviously, the mining licence application we've submitted and we've been working with the government for some time. We are expecting conclusion of this very shortly, having satisfied all the requirements of the government to this point in time. And obviously the team in Uganda is in constant dialogue with both the Ministry of Energy, Mineral Development and also the Directorate of Geological Survey and Mines to ensure that we can get that mining licence awarded as early as we possibly can. We're building the demonstration plant now. We've got approval from the government to do that, and we're very much looking forward to first mixed rare earth carbonate production in the first quarter of next year. If we look at the other end of the spectrum, secondary sourced magnet rare earths coming from recycling, our Ionic Technologies subsidiary which has a patented technology that's agnostic on magnet quality, can take various products from the supply chain and takes it all the way back to a high purity oxide, presents the market and the supply chain with something that they haven't had up until this point. And I would say post the production of our first oxides, we've had tremendous reverse engagement from the supply chain, looking at now how we can engage with other partners beyond those we've announced to date, to build and be part of potentially a new supply chain emerging across Europe, North Asia, and the US. On Makuutu itself, refreshing shareholders to the fact that in October last year we did get flagship project status from the Ugandan government. We do have a very good relationship with the Ugandan government, and we do see the Ugandan government as being key supporters of the development of the project and helping us working with local stakeholders to ensure that we can develop the project in a reasonable timeframe. Just a little bit more about obviously the advantages of ionic adsorption clay and hard rock. It's obviously been a very busy 12 months for the ionic adsorption clay space. We see now a number of peers that are emerging. And from my perspective, I do see a strong opportunity for Ionic being one of the most advanced ionic adsorption clay projects that's in development today with product that's not committed to a Chinese supply chain. So any new production capacity that wants to come online over the course of the next few years, looking for non-Chinese magnet and heavy rare earths, is likely to have Makuutu as a key plank in that strategy. Hence why we've had tremendous interest and a lot of focus and requested updates on the development of the project and our progress towards the mining license at Makuutu. Obviously, the ionic adsorption clays have a significant advantage with a much lower capital development threshold, which means lower capital risk. And those familiar with more complex metallurgical processing plants typically know higher cost and more aggressive conditions, significantly harder to operate and keep operating. And these are the advantages that ionic adsorption clays have over the hard rock projects, and why we've seen the market really waking up to the opportunity in the ionic adsorption clay space. The project itself and the location, we're 120 kilometres east of Kampala. Infrastructure is fantastic. In Uganda 5 weeks ago, we went and visited the local, one of the local hydroelectric power plants, built in 2007, producing, in excess of 250 megawatts of renewable power. There is, huge opportunity with hydro being fed from the Lake Victoria along the Nile. And so we do see tremendous opportunity to develop a project with a low carbon footprint, well serviced by additional infrastructure, road, rail, and mobile phone communications across site. I want to recap on the feasibility study we announced earlier this year. The feasibility study was completed to support the mining licence application. And we are in the process of revising that feasibility study, having appointed DRA Global out of Johannesburg. And we do anticipate updating the feasibility study in 2024 to support the final investment decision. That feasibility study we announced earlier this year, supporting the mining licence application, defined a 35-year life on the central tenement only. And we do expect that other tenements will progress to the mining licences in due course. We do anticipate that the western tenement will support a new mining licence application later next year. On the resource itself, over the course of the last 12 months, we've done more infill drilling on the western tenement to support that next mining licence application. And beyond that, some reconnaissance drilling and scout drilling to look at the potential growth out to the eastern tenement and the new northwestern tenement, with the maiden drilling completed this year. And if we look at that in a bit more detail, I think it was a very successful program. It has certainly tightened up our understanding of the potential out to the east, but also, significant opportunity in the northwest project area. and on the resource drilling, the extension of the Makuutu Western licence out a further 1.8 kilometres. So, we do anticipate that resource estimate update being completed in the first quarter of next year, and an updated exploration target being completed to support, our ideas about how we potentially grow out a much larger Makuutu project in time. The basket composition and the value. So whilst, Makuutu has a very well-balanced basket, a lot of the appeal that we've had from the supply chain is the fact that we present all 4 of the magnet rare earths required to develop sintered magnets for applications in EVs and offshore wind. I think a lot of focus in the market around NdPr, but really doesn't understand the importance of dysprosium and terbium in being able to convert that NdPr opportunity into the magnets in the high-end applications in electric vehicles and offshore wind. So, we present a very balanced basket of magnet rare earths, and importantly, those magnet rare earths represent about 85% of the value of the project, with the other heavy rare earths in the basket making up about 15%. So we're spending a lot of time working with the magnet supply chain, and we anticipate that's going to be the engine room for new supply coming online. Obviously, a driver for the development of Makuutu and being able to supply enough dysprosium and terbium to develop magnets in the new economy, with an opportunity to also grow out heavy rare earth capacity for Western end users. On the demonstration plant, so, there in Uganda 5 weeks ago, looking at progress, it's a tremendous amount of progress that's been achieved in about 5 months since we actually started activity on site. We've built the facility, the shed itself. We've got a couple of shipping containers of equipment that are on their way to site, which will enable us to set up heap leach columns and cribs, which will provide the initial production, which helps us to start better engagement with the supply chain. And then on the second phase of the demonstration plant, we start to build much larger heap leach modules, which will then be able to produce the product at much larger inventories to be able to start to send significant parcels to potential supply chain partners. The demonstration plant, will produce obviously product for evaluation and de-risking in the supply chain, but also will generate new information which will go back into the updated feasibility study. One of the key drivers that we're hoping to be able to prove and demonstrate is the ability to stack the material higher. So going from the 3 metres, which was considered as the stack height in the feasibility study, taking that up to potentially up to 6 metres or above, which could support either a reduction in capital or the potential to increase capacity with a very minor increase in capital. On the ESG side, so over the course of the last 12 months, we've continued to work a lot on community engagement. We've initiated the second environmental and social impact assessment, which will be completed to support the next mining licence application in the Western area. We've engaged with government and on the rehabilitation resettlement action plan. We've acquired a substantial amount of ground over the Makuutu project, and acquired the land access rights and agreements in place with project affected persons. Presently we have a team of about 80 in Uganda, and that's been extremely well received by our government stakeholders back in Uganda. If we look at the opportunity, so obviously over the course of the last 12 months, we've seen a number of new ionic adsorption clays enter the space. I think one of the key advantages that Makuutu has in the supply chain is the fact that we are significantly advanced. And so when we look at where the new capacity is going to come from within the next year or two to support new heavy rare earth refining capacity that wants to be in production in 2026, that new capacity needs heavy rare earths. That creates a fantastic opportunity for the development of Makuutu and being one of the early projects that gets developed but also being a key participant in how that new supply chain emerges. So if we look at the progress that the company's been able to achieve over the last 4 years, and the expected progress that's, we're expecting to see over the course of the next quarter with the award of the mining licence and the first production of mixed rare earth carbonate at Makuutu, we are positioning ourselves for an investment decision in the second half of 24, targeting first production late 25 and being able to supply our product into new refining capacity coming online in 2026. When we look at the other projects that are in development at the moment, there's obviously a significant gap. That creates obviously a fantastic moat for the company in development of the Makuutu project. And so we're very keen to keep activity moving in a positive direction to be able to make sure that Makuutu is one of those projects that goes into the supply chain. Over the next 12 months, expanding that out, I touched upon the mining licence. We are also working on an updated exploration target to fold in the new reconnaissance drilling that was completed. There'll be an updated resource estimate in the first quarter of 24, which supports that new mining licence. The production of mixed rare earth carbonate is obviously a tremendous milestone for the project in being able to validate, obviously, the process and the project and the quality of the product into those new Western supply chains. And so the production of mixed rare earth carbonate is a very, very big milestone for the project and our ability to unlock the value and commit our product to those new supply chains. Engaging DRA Global out of South Africa, we're obviously updating the capital operating cost estimate. We expect to be in a position to then finalise an investment decision in the second half of 2024. I touched upon the scale of the team that we've got in Uganda. We continue to look at targeted roles, now roles around supporting the development and operation of the demonstration plant, but also other staff there to support that through analytical capability and project execution capability to support, what we see as being a tremendous opportunity with the Makuutu project. Now, I just want to focus on, I suppose, the opportunity with Ionic Technologies, and I think over the course of the last 12 months, it's been tremendous amount of success and progress that's been achieved there. Obviously, we do have patented technology out of Queen's University, Belfast. We've seen tremendous appetite and focus of what's happening in Belfast from both the UK government and the EU. Very keen to watch what's happening there, but obviously also receiving inquiries from North Asia and the US. Very keen to watch progress with the technology, given it's a significant step change on alternative technologies that are available to the market today. We are producing high purity oxides, and we've demonstrated that. The quality of the products we've produced has enabled and driven reverse inquiry, where we continue to have inquiries coming from the supply chain, looking at ways in which they can work with us in taking their products or their ambitions and being able to deliver them with high purity products to be able to make the magnets that are required for electric vehicles and wind turbines. We received the grant last year for the demonstration plant. We delivered that, obviously, with the commercial or the operation of the demonstration plant in June, and product quality meeting and exceeding specification. And I think that has also been very well received in the UK, and we've received tremendous support from the UK government, Department of Business and Trade, and Innovate UK, and we are looking at new applications, new opportunities for us to continue to look at ways in which we can leverage the success of the work done to date into the ambitions of the UK, specifically in building sovereign capability on magnet rare earths, and providing them with a domestic solution for their requirements for supporting the development of, up to 2 million e-drives in the UK by 2035. With the Belfast technical facility now operating, we've obviously grown a team. When we initially acquired the business, we had about 5 people. We've now got a team that's approaching 30, and we are, looking at how we now move to 24/7 operation, generating the product and the data to support a feasibility study, which we're kicking off to support a commercial plant in Belfast. Belfast as a location is tremendously well supported by infrastructure, and so it does represent a tremendous opportunity for Ionic Tech, supporting obviously the energy transition, but also ambitions from the UK government on regional growth. So being in Belfast, I think, is certainly a tremendous asset for the business. As I mentioned earlier, producing those high purity oxides really was a springboard for us, and the ability now to work on how we can better participate in those supply chains that are emerging in Europe, for example. And then finally, back in September, we were awarded another 2 grants. One grant to work on a collaboration partnership with Ford and Less Common Metals on a UK supply chain, and the second grant on the feasibility study, which will leverage proprietary information from the British Geological Survey, which has developed a stocks and flow model, which helps them understand where all the magnets are in the UK today and what does that look like for the projected rates and quantities of magnets that will need recycling. The UK is one of the early adopters of offshore wind, and so as we approach the end of this decade, there will start to be appreciable amounts of offshore wind turbines that start to be decommissioned. One of the other big opportunities that we see is a process called repowering, whereby existing wind turbines are being taken down by wind farm operators, and given the constraint on land, the desire from those wind farm operators to replace smaller wind turbines with much larger wind turbines to start to generate more economy of scale from the wind farms based upon the land access available. So we do see tremendous opportunity from the recycling of end-of-life materials. But again, the key advantage of the technology, we can take various different products. And so whilst we can take variable magnet quality coming from wind turbines and EVs, we are able to look at the ability to engage with other samples and streams in the value addition process. So we are looking at obviously swarf and magnet offcuts, which provides a tremendous growth base for the recycling. In essence, the more magnets that are being produced requires more metal, and more metal and magnets means more material that ultimately needs recycling. So as the projected demand for ex-China capacity on magnets emerges and grows, we do see the immediate opportunity on recycling with our technology being a key differentiator, because we can take variable products in through one plant and provide a more holistic solution on recycling. In September, we did host an opening event for the demonstration plant in Belfast, in the technical facility. We did receive tremendous support from the UK government. And so, I think the support and the engagement that we had from local stakeholders in Belfast, a tremendous amount of excitement about what we were able to achieve and what we've been able to achieve in a relatively short space of time. The quality of the products that we are producing, the diversity in our team. We've got an extremely well-educated, keen, ambitious team that is very, very keen and proud to be developing this new technology and being at the cutting edge of magnet recycling. And I think that clearly came across with the stakeholders that attended the event. Just a little bit on again, recapping on the ability to take various products in the supply chain through recycling. We can take material from metal making, alloy making, magnet making, and end-of-life materials. And so the relationship that we have been able to announce with Less Common Metals and Ford helps us to be able to demonstrate the products that we can take into our process to complete the circular economy, but also taking material back from Ford, which enables Ford themselves to complete their circular economy and sustainability targets with regards to the development of new e-drives for electric vehicles, and helps us become more efficient as a supply chain to minimise the amount of waste in the process. I suppose, just to recap on some of the big catalysts over the course of 2023 and some of the things that we're hoping can be delivered very shortly. The DFS was achieved earlier this year, and on the back of that, we moved to 60% ownership of Renzori Rare Metals. We started the construction of the demonstration plant in the second quarter of 23. We started producing high purity oxides in June 2023. I think that's a tremendous milestone. And given the quality of the products and the high purity dysprosium, I think we're one, if not the first company on the ASX to produce high purity dysprosium, which I think is a tremendous milestone in a relatively short space of time. We were finally given approval to commence additional exploration at Makuutu earlier this year, and so completing both the infill programs and also the reconnaissance scout drilling across the eastern and northwestern tenements obviously bodes well for an update to the resource, but also an increase to the exploration target at Makuutu. And whilst we've all been very, very patient waiting for the mining licence, we've been working very closely with the Ugandan government, building the relationship, and we do expect the mining licence will come through very shortly, having satisfied all of their requirements. And in the background, there's been a tremendous amount of work that the business has been doing on working with the supply chain and understanding the role that Makuutu plays in the new supply chains that are going to form. There's absolutely no point putting a mine into construction without having the understanding of where the product is going to go. Building a refinery without having the metal making, the alloy making, and the magnet making capacity in place to be able to take it would mean that we would be forced to sell our product into the existing supply chains, which would potentially leave the company exposed to manipulation in rare earth pricing. And so we've been working towards being able to lock down our preferred supply chain so that we can work with our ultimate end users to provide them with security of supply, sustainable supply, and traceable supply of both magnet and heavy rare earths for some time to come. Finally, just want to sort of recap on the value proposition. Obviously, with Ionic Rare Earths and going back to the second slide that I showed, showing the rare earth price overlaying on the Ionic price, I think we do have direct exposure to sentiment with rare earth pricing, and I do expect over the course of the next 12 months, we should start to see a recovery to DyTb pricing and also NdPr, which is likely to drive significant improvements in sentiment. With Ionic Technologies, we're right in that supply chain now. We're looking at how that technology now can be replicated in other engagements and other relationships. So we do see the ability to roll this out in a very much a cookie cutter approach. We do expect more partnerships to be announced. If we look at Makuutu itself, it's a very large asset. It's development ready. There is a home for this product now. There is a demand for this product now. And we are working with the supply chain to understand when those refining facilities, when that magnet or metal alloy magnet capacity is coming online, and being able to make sure that we don't cut corners with the development of Makuutu, but we are ready to take advantage when the supply chain clicks. it's a very strategic asset. We're working very closely on that ex-China approach and ex-China strategy, where we do see a lot of inbound inquiry, and it's a real bonus for us because of the geopolitical tensions that are driving the demand for secure supply. So that's supply today, tomorrow, 5 years from now, that is not going to be manipulated by other policy. And beyond that, we have continued to work on the refinery. It is a highly strategic asset, and we have had a lot of inbound inquiry on other locations and other opportunities. At this stage, we're going to keep our powder dry because I think it's a big advantage for the business moving forward. And we're certainly seeing some significant opportunities emerging in other jurisdictions, and I think it could be a very strategic lever for the business long term. So with that, that's everything for today, and happy to open up for a few questions.
Hi, Tim. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah. Hi, Tim. It's Ray Waspia. Just regards to what you just mentioned there with the refinery. When the minister was out here, she mentioned that there would be no export of ore out of Uganda, and she would want a refinery to be built there. Is that correct?
Yes, so it's a good thing we're not exporting ore. We're exporting mixed rare earth carbonate, which is a value-added compound.
Yeah, so that wouldn't be an issue from that point.
No, so we've been having dialogue with them about this, and actually when the minister was out, we actually hosted a visit to the Perth Mint, so that we could provide some context on what does refining look like, the level of infrastructure, support, ancillary capability that's needed. And, I think the complexity of just refining one element at the Perth Mint resonated with the minister when we explained that, this would be 17-fold if you're looking at the full spectrum of rare earth elements at Makuutu. I think the minister understands that, at this point in Uganda's development, the capacity doesn't exist for that to occur.
Okay, and just one other thing. Congratulations, by the way, on the achievements we've made this year. It's been really, really good. And the other thing is the power line the Makuutu, the mine itself, we have got green electricity, as you're saying. Does that run to the plant, or do we still have to build a power line to that plant?
Yeah, the power lines, the 132 kV transmission line runs within about a few kilometres of where the process plant's going to be built. So yeah, we're tremendously, it's pretty hard you can't find many projects globally that has the infrastructure head start that Makuutu has.
Good morning, Tim. Earl Richardson. Nice to see you again.
Hi, Earl.
Hi. Look, I just wanted to go back and talk in relation to a corporate matter and the ownership of Makuutu. Currently, we're sitting at 60%. What are the milestones we're expecting to achieve, and do you have a time frame as to where the eventual ownership will end up with Ionic?
Yeah, look, it's a good question, Earl. We've been talking with our partners now for some time about it. I think, we probably said publicly that we're in advanced discussions. I'd hope to be able to move to a significant stake in Makuutu to help satisfy some of our potential strategic partners who are looking to lock up, in essence, as much of the project as we possibly can.
Can't elaborate on any time frames at this stage.
I'd like to, but how long's a piece of string? We've been in discussions now for some time. I think we're getting close.
Do you have any idea of what sort of percentage we're looking at? Is it 100% or 80% of the project, or?
I'd like to be probably north of 80%. Ideally, I'd like to get to 100%. Yeah, there's a number of discussions that need to be held with our partners in Renzori. You know, in a perfect world, we get to 100%, but I think there's a mechanism to be able to move forward without having to go all that way.
Thanks.
Hi, Tim. Sorry, it's Ray Wasp again. Just one other question. In terms of the land access, you mentioned that we've got about 95% now. Do we still have to get the 100%, or are we moving forward without getting 100%?
I think the best way to answer this is that the 100%, I think, was an unrealistic expectation from the DGSM, and I think, from the government and the DGSM. I think it's a figment of the Mining Act and the regulations that were put in place, and I think they realise that it's not feasible, given in some instances you have land that is in dispute, and therefore you're trying to work out who is the actual legal owner of title. That's obviously a matter that we can't resolve. And you've also got land whereby the owner of that land is not in the area at the time when we're trying to do a transaction. So I think the reality of getting to 95% is a tremendous outcome, and I think the DGSM and the ministry understand that is a tremendous outcome, and hence why they're keen now to support the award of the mining licence.
So to quote you, Tim, on several occasions, it's imminent?
I'm only passing on what I'm hearing from the Ugandans. So I'd love to say it's imminent. I'm probably, I wouldn't say jaded by that comment, but I suppose schooled in that comment. I wouldn't say it's imminent, but I'd say it's pretty close.
All right, so no further questions? No further questions? All right, well, thanks everyone for your attendance today. Much appreciated. See you next year. Okay, right.
Thank you.